I'm Dr. Jenn Clark, and I'm the director here at the James H. Barrow Biological Field Station of Hiram College. And this is our research technician, Andrew Runyon. He's a recent graduate of Hiram College. And today we're going to take you on a hike through our trail system. And in addition to having an education and research facility here, we do have an extensive trail network of over 5 miles of trails that you can come and hike at. So we're going to get some experience of what springtime looks like here for our field station. So what I wanted to point out is that we have a couple access points at our field station to get on the trailhead. This trail over here will take you through the front of the property and then into some meadows along nearby agricultural fields, eventually getting you into the woods. So we are going to start in our parking lot here, and we are going to move into our trailhead pavilion. Once you pull into the parking lot, you'll see our pavilion here, and this is where our trailhead truly starts. We have a kiosk that's next to the trailhead pavilion that has some information, but we also have trail maps inside of this pavilion that you can pick up and take with you. So we are going to get started and get on our main hiking route. So one of my favorite things to do at the field station is to go birding, and what you've been hearing in the background is a field sparrow. We have quite a few field sparrows, so there it is again, that we hear in early spring and nest here at the field station. What you're seeing over here is a restored tall grass prairie area. Doesn't look so pretty at this time of year, but come summer it will be full of tall grasses and beautiful wildflowers. So you may be noticing some cattails that are left over from last year. This area is what we call our zigzag wetland, and what it does essentially is filter our gray water from not only our observation building, but also our main building as well. Bluebirds flying off. Pretty good population of bluebirds in this area, some eastern bluebirds.
We have a large number of actual bird boxes over on our fences over there that they often nest in.
And throughout the summer, our student researchers and animal care staff monitor those boxes. And one of the goals is to help promote establishment of native species, especially the eastern bluebird. We also have some other native species like tree swallows that will nest in them as well. What we do try to prevent is some of our non-native species, our invasive species, from colonizing, so mainly house sparrows that will outcompete bluebirds for their nest site. Another bird that you're hearing is a song sparrow in the background. There's a couple different directions you can take. This path will take you to our Smiley duck blind, which you can look over our observation pond. You can view our trumpeter swans that are local residents here. in addition to other species that come and visit. So Canada geese and mallards are common visitors along with wood ducks. And this loop will take you not only to that bird blind, also to a forestry exhibit that demonstrates what forests look like when they are managed for invasive species versus when they are not. It'll also take you next to educational wetlands that were constructed for field studies, in addition to promoting wetland health and diversity, and that will eventually lead you into the forest system as well. But today we're going to take you past our observation building onto the main way that I like to access the trail. Stop off and visit our resident trumpeter swans. They live here year-round, and they're part of a breeding program to protect trumpeter swan populations. This orange fence that you're looking at here is up to protect them so that they can hopefully successfully nest this season. Come around this way. Down in the grass over here, along with that wood duck out here, and a mallard swimming around happily together.
A few Canada geese over here towards the edge of the pond.
And our swans. So this pulley system structure you're seeing out here has this red jug on it, and that's actually a way that we feed our swans. So students and staff here come out daily to keep them happy and healthy. So we're getting ready to get on our main loop of the trail. And today, during our hike, we're going to listen to some sounds that you can hear all around you, and mostly birds that we'll be hearing. And we're also going to go off trail to see if we can find any animals to show you today. But one thing that we do ask is that as a visitor here, you please stay on the trail so that we can preserve our habitats and our wildlife. So often hiding under little logs, flip them over, and sometimes find salamanders and other invertebrates, pill bugs or potato bugs, as you might know them. Sometimes we find slugs, but no salamanders under here. Lots of earthworms though. If you do, and again, we ask that you stay on the trail, but if you flip over logs, you want to be careful to put them back because those create really important microhabitats for species under them. Out one of our early spring plants that you'll find along the trail in a lot of places throughout Ohio. This is called mayapple. So it's called mayapple because it emerges very nicely in early spring and will start to flower soon. bigger one. Lots of earthworms, beetles, bugs. All right.
So what we have here is our most common salamander in Ohio, the northern redback salamander. This one is a fairly small one, actually, but they are commonly found under logs in woods like this, and he's not terribly thrilled at being held.
So this is one of the few species of amphibians that actually breed on land instead of in the water. So they require moist habitats under logs and rocks and other debris in order to be able to keep their eggs wet so that they can hatch out successfully. So again, we try not to handle amphibians very frequently. One of the problems with handling them, or humans handling them in particular, is that they can transmit disease. So chytrid fungus and coronavirus are common amphibian diseases that you can transport easily, not only just on your hands to other amphibians, but it can get into the water and survive there, and also you can transfer it pretty easily even on your boots. So when we do handle amphibians for research purposes, we are really good about sanitizing our equipment and our hands following handling them.
I'm going to return this guy to the log that I found him under, and we can continue on our way. This stream here comes out of our observation pond, so it will be flowing more with more rain that we get. And yeah, it's one of many little streams that we have throughout our property here at the field station.
To another important juncture at our trail here, and there are two ways you can go. Both of them continue on the main loop of the trail, and we're going to go this way first and check out some snake cover boards that we have set up for education and research purposes. See if we can find anything there, and then we're going to come back and head in the opposite direction to show you some other habitats that we have here. Lots of slugs and beetles under this one.
Not much of anything under that.
And some slugs and bugs here. Noticing that it's pretty wet underneath fork. We've had a lot of rain. luck. But what I can point out, we have some tunnels underneath here. We have a lot of rodents that will use these cover boards as well, even though they're set out for snakes. Voles and mice like to nest and burrow under them as well, and that's also good habitat for what we call fossorial snakes, so they're burrowing snakes, especially species like brown snakes.
I also recently found at one of our other snake board sites a couple of star-nosed moles underneath the board, so that was new.
So along our trail, you'll see lots of different types of mosses. The little things that are popping up out of these mosses is called a sporophyte. It's part of the moss, and that's where they make spores and they release them to disperse to start a new colony of moss.
All right, so the cooler's out over there.
Maybe I can these guys
All right, probably want to bring this out to a more open area. There's good. All right. So I was out here catching these guys earlier today, and I'll show you the method that I used.
So this is one of our many vernal pools on the property. So vernal pools are important wetlands that fill with snow and precipitation early in the spring and become a really important breeding site for a lot of amphibians, a lot of salamanders, like spotted salamanders and Jefferson salamanders that we find in this pond, in addition to a lot of frogs as well. So we get spring peepers, wood frogs, chorus frogs occasionally as well. This will, like all vernal pools, dry up throughout the summer, so they develop relatively quickly. And the salamander species that we find early spring actually spend the rest of the year underground. They're called mole salamanders. So, earlier this morning, Andrew came out to collect a really cool species called a red-spotted newt. So they have an aquatic stage that is very different than their short-lived terrestrial stage. So after some time, as juveniles, they'll spend time as a red eft, and they're bright red, appearing very, very toxic, and they are to their predators. And then they will return to an aquatic stage in order to lay eggs and complete their lives in aquatic systems. So, pretty cool guy there. And they're a common amphibian that you'll find in Ohio.
I caught 3 newts this morning, but just about a month ago, this site was one of our best during our spring vernal pool samplings, and we were catching dozens of Jefferson salamanders, several spotted salamanders, lots of wood frogs, and a few newts as well. So it's one of our best pools that we've sampled thus far out here, and it's a real nice thing to have. So what I have here is one of the traps that we use to capture these amphibians during our vernal pool surveys. This is actually a minnow trap, so it's often used for catching small fish, and the idea is that any aquatic organism will, when this is placed in the water, enter through this kind of funnel area and get stuck in here and not be able to figure how to get out until we come, pick it back up, and we can unclip it, open it up, and get whatever we have that's been trapped in here just quickly into a bucket. They're always completely fine as long as we give the amphibians enough air to breathe. And then we can reclip it and count how many amphibians we got.
So, walking into a muddy spot here, so I thought I would point out some tracks that we just found. There's deer tracks. And often these muddy areas are a really good place to look for animal tracks. So this area that we're walking out into now is what we call the Hills Vista. It was named after Professor Matt Hills, who was a biology faculty member at Hiram College. And all of this area is being managed as a grassland, so an old field grassland community, and we're trying to maximize diversity of the vegetation and provide a good breeding habitat for grassland birds such as bobolinks and eastern meadowlarks. So this is a habitat type that is in decline. As forest encroaches, what happens is that the trees take over and we lose that grassland community, and species that need that type of habitat can also suffer declines. So we manage this property with a mix of mowing patterns in the spring and fall, but we also do controlled burns on this site as well. A lot of the flagging that you might see as you hike out through here are indicating plots that are set up for different management strategies. So a lot of what you're looking at out here, our land steward, Endless Bricks, has put in a lot of time and effort to not only grow certain types of grasses and forbs or broadleaf wildflowers to plant, but he's also done a lot along with interns and staff members here to do some seeding throughout the area. So historically this was farm. As you look out, you might see the large hillsides out here. That actually defines our watershed for this region. The area we're walking into now, we're getting close to Silver Creek, and Silver Creek has a pretty extensive floodplain throughout our forest. So you're looking at a really large patch of what's called skunk cabbage. If you pick the leaves, they smell like skunk dust. It's a very common early plant that you'll see in wet areas in the spring. So this stream that you're looking at here is called Silver Creek, and it leads into Eagle Creek, which flows through Garrettsville. So if you've driven through the town of Garrettsville and you go over the bridge, this is the stream that runs into Eagle Creek. It is designated by the Ohio EPA as one of the few cold water streams that we have in Ohio. And it's a pretty pristine stream overall. We get a lot of species that don't tolerate poor conditions, so poor water quality. And the main crayfish species that we find in this stream is actually a species of concern for Ohio. This little flower that you're looking at, this is called a trillium. It's a white trillium, but it's also an early spring wildflower. Unfortunately, a lot of our other wildflowers like trout lilies and spring beauties are not flowering. They've already run their course for the most part, but this is a pretty special plant in Ohio.